Welcome to a brand new World of Warships channel, specifically created to host some of our in-clan games for everyone on the internet to enjoy, as well as, maybe some, in future, some fan submissions for us to review and maybe do some commentary on, and maybe just to have a bit of fun with on the internet. So, to kick things off, we've got one of our clanmates, RohkTheron, not to be confused with Charlie's Tron, which most Americans lovingly call Theron for some reason. We have RohkTheron in the Kurfurst. He asked me to have a look at this replay because not only was it a decent-ish game for himself, but he said it could be quite interesting for like a first submission for the channel. Now, he's playing in this game with two guys called Zoroth and... Sorry, not Zoroth, Captain Stevie X and Squid. Squid being one of the newer members of the clan, and Captain Stevie being a very accomplished cruiser player in our clan. He's been recently featured on Jingle's channel with his Edinburgh gameplay. The replay that he sent in where he had to kill off 2 ships for a win in the final seconds of the game, where the enemy could just have disappeared and would have won the game, but decided to rather go after the lone ship and died in the process. So Rohk is setting off to sea cap here with his Große Kurfurst, and as you can see, he doesn't have a concealment build on the ship at all. Definitely has it spec'd out for secondaries, and he's also lacking a substantial gun range with the ship, which means he probably spec'd into additional tankiness with the ship, as well as fire prevention, basically that sort of thing. Basically making sure the Kurfurst lasts the distance and it does the maximum amount of damage that it possibly can. Now, not having a concealment build on this ship is not the worst thing that can happen. What it does do, especially at the start of a game, it makes you more prone to incoming fire straight off the bat. Because in most cases, you will be the first ship spotted. Especially when you move into the caps as aggressively as he is currently. Now, the first things you want to do at the start of a game is survey your surroundings. Have a look around, see who's spotted, who's not spotted. Have a look to see what kind of destroyers you're up against, what kind of support you have in close proximity to your ship, and if things go wrong, do you have an exit strategy? Now, as you can see, the very first destroyer that was spotted was the Cossack. Cossack's got a very low detection range. It's got decent-ish torps, but not too many of them. I think it's got one set of 4 torpedoes that it can send out every minute or so. And they do reach a considerable distance. I think it's I think they go out by about 10 kilometers or something, if I remember correctly. Now, the Cossack is not the most feared destroyer that you can possibly fear in a battleship. What you should be fearing is probably the Asasio. But as RohkTheron has remarked, yeah, it's a valid point he made. The Asasios absolutely have to torp known battleship lanes, because it can't damage destroyers, it can't damage cruisers, and invariably when those torpedoes pass through those ships, it is spotted a mile away. So they don't necessarily want to waste their torp drops on ships that have support ships in front of them. So even though the Asasio can be a big pain in the ass, you very rarely find yourself in a position where you are not going to spot the torpedoes a mile away. Now, one of the biggest sins that you can make, especially at the start of a game, is sail broadside in front of multiple ships. Now, the Kurfurst and the Hindenburg currently, the enemy Kurfurst and the enemy Hindenburg though, are getting away with it, simply because the destroyer itself is ineffective to a large degree against those ships, and the only other ship available to shoot at them at the time was the Zau. And as you can see, the Zau is trying to find cover to be as of much use as possible to RohkTheron in his Kurfurst. One thing I must admit though, when I first watched the replay, was I would have popped my hydro already. Now, as you can see, the Cossack is sending torpedoes, and it wasn't aimed at the Kurfürst. It's aimed at the Prince Eugen sitting next to the island. What RohkTheron is doing right now is he's trying to move his ship into a position of dominance. Something that's going to make it hard for the enemy to flush out. Broadside shot on the Cossack, and ever since the AP nerf, you probably won't expect to kill it in one salvo. And as expected, set some fires on it with his secondaries, but the Eugen finished it off. Now you've got 3 enemy ships on the run, essentially, with 2 of them having shots on the friendly Kurfürst, the Hindenburg and the enemy Kurfürst. But the enemy Kurfürst find himself in a precarious position where, at least for the next half a minute or so, he's going to be sitting almost broadside in front of that island, trying to negotiate his way around there. As you can see, the enemy team, as of this moment, have 2 of the caps. The friendly team only 1. They are lagging behind by about 200 points, and they are 1 ship down. This shot on the Cleveland unfortunately is whiffed, because the Cleveland was busy slowing down. Not always easy to pick up, especially when there's a thunderstorm front overhead, because you really do need to look at the smokestacks very carefully to notice whether or not a ship is going at full speed or not, and it's very difficult to do so in these storms. But Rogue doesn't make that mistake twice in a row. That salvo absolutely removes the Cleveland without any questions asked. Bang. Now the Tirpitz is moving in towards the cap. RohkTheron is surveying his surroundings, only sitting on about 50,000 damage and 1 kill at this point in time with 2 citadels. Trying to figure out his next move. Now, there's not much known of the ships that is on the other side of the map. As you can see, there's a Buffalo being spotted. There's a Hindenburg, Iowa, and Conqueror rounding the outside island on the very far side of the map. And the support at sea cap seems almost overwhelming, which is not really making the enemy coming towards the cap. So all they need to do is literally hang back and play it safe, and they will probably win this game. So Rogue realizes he now needs to do something out of the ordinary. He needs to try and stabilize the other flank. The Zau has already left the sea cap, one of his division mates. The Rune, which is currently also in that cap, is now also making a turn to leave that cap, seeing as most of the enemy ships are leaving that area as it is. Now you could have made one of 2 plays here. You can either try and support the other flank like Rogue is trying to do now, or you could force yourself out of the sea cap, going after those ships that's busy running away, and start pumping them full of lead from behind. He decided against it, simply because he knows that if those 3 ships on the other flank rounds that corner successfully, they can start picking off friendly ships one by one quite comfortably. And that is not exactly a recipe for a win there. They are now currently in the process of capping B cap. They now have a one ship advantage on the enemy. And the enemy now has no more destroyers. Now that's a serious advantage for Rogue's team right now. With all the destroyers removed, the only ships that are in a position to top anything are the Hindenburgs. Now that in and of itself is not necessarily a big problem, because the Hindenburgs are quite tanky, they can rush ships, and they will do a number on you with their torpedoes, seeing as they've got 2 full torpedo salvos on each side of the ship. They don't seem like they want to rush into any conflict at the moment, even though they probably should, considering that they are now with one less cap and they don't have any destroyers doing any spotting for them. But maybe that is one of the reasons why they are hanging back quite a bit right now, is because they don't have spotting of the destroyers. Rogue is now pushing out of that cap, going after the Conqueror and the Iowa on the other side of the map, hopefully putting himself in a position where he can do a number on these ships. Enemy Hindenburg goes down. Scores creeping closer to each other, and this is where the enemy Conqueror probably didn't play the way that he is supposed to, and that is why a lot of people actually do not like the Conqueror per se. Yes, as a long range HE spammer, that thing can wreck modules, it can wreck your AA, it can wreck your secondaries, it can wreck a lot of things on your ship, and it can do a heck of a lot of alpha damage to your ship as well. It can absolutely citadel cruisers from range with its HE, but when you've got a broadside battleship approaching you, a lot of Conqueror players tend to disregard their AP shells completely and continue to shoot HE. Now, if you just look at the health bar of the Conqueror, it looks as if he's at half health, but because of the large HP pool of these ships, he still has 72,000 HP, which means he can allow multiple fires to burn on his ship for as long as he literally wants to, while he pumps AP shells into the side of the Conqueror. Now, just watch what this Conqueror is doing at this point in time. Instead of switching to AP and trying to chunk the Kurfurst down in 10, 15, 20k salvos, he's going to continue shooting HE at the ship. That is why this Kurfurst from RohkTheron couldn't care a damn whether or not he's sailing broadside to that Conqueror or not. RNG takes over, you're either going to set a fire or two or not, but I'm the one sailing next to you that's going to do consistent damage to your broadside with my AP. And now, just to rub salt to the wound even further, his secondaries are opening up and will rain down hellfire on that Conqueror simply because it's inside 10 kilometers. There's one fire on the Kurfurst, burning quite beautifully. He doesn't care, and the Conqueror is essentially gone. He's dead. He's not repairing, he's not printing another ship. He's dead. And he will fall to the secondaries before the main battery shells can even hit him. As we can all see, he's now heading towards the cap. And he's not bringing the fire under control at all. He's letting it burn. He knows he's got a fair amount of HP left. And having the damage control ready for whatever purpose after he rounds the side of that island, you know, is probably a better idea than to have it on cooldown because he killed one fire. He recognizes he's going to have to push into that cap. C cap is busy falling. 2 ships have entered it, seeing as all of the support from that cap is left. And pretty soon the enemy will have a cap advantage again. The ship count is now equal, 5 on 5, but the friendly team still has the advantage with regards to the destroyer. There's no radar that can detect it, so unless the lightning actually misplays completely, he can actually play a serious role in the outcome of this game, simply by providing spotting and landing the odd torpedo. What I wouldn't have done, though, I would not have taken that speculative shot over that island in the Tirpitz' direction, because what he's done was he's actually given the enemy the signal that he's going to be rounding this corner soon. Just catching a little bit more of the Iowa's broadside early on would probably have been more beneficial, because he's now forced to spend more time semi-broadside to the Iowa in order to get most of his guns out on it, while not being able to angle properly to any of the other ships. And there goes the Iowa. Now we can turn in, nose in, and start focusing on the ships that's on the other side of that little lip of the island. This is where the shell arcs of the Kurfurst can actually come back to bite you in the ass, because from about 10 k's out it can easily make that little lip and do some chip damage on ships. But the moment you get too close, the sheer velocity of these ships causes them to have one of the flattest arcs in the game. You're going to notice very soon him trying to send another salvo off in the direction of the Hindenburg, and it's literally going to whiff the top of the trees and into the island. There you go. That's relatively flat arcs. Just couldn't make it. He didn't even take that shot. He knew his back guns is just going to, hit the island. It's going to be a waste couple of shots. Lightning does a fantastic thing here. Conceals the Kurfurst, letting him get broadside without, getting absolutely wrecked by continuous secondary fire from the Tirpitz. Basically gives him time to get his main battery guns online, and hopefully the Lightning will continue spotting so that the next salvo on any ship will be a good one. And there we go, full broadside Tirpitz, all of his shells out, and that is a paddling, as Jingles would say. Now is a good time to actually move out, let the secondaries do a little bit of work, but then again it moves out of the 11.6 kilometer range of his secondaries. But the Hindenburg decides to get fresh. Sends his torpedoes. High caliber war to Rohk. Absolute drilling of the Hindenburg. He's not going to last very long at this point in time. Don't know what he sent his torps at. It seems as if he sent one at the Kurfurst position and one at the destroyer, but he basically missed both. Tirpitz are now in deep trouble, but we now need to have a look and see on the map that there is indeed a Kurfurst that was last spotted, and there we go. Spotted. Get your guns around, son. Let's be of use here. You want to be angling as much as you possibly can towards the Kurfurst, and maybe create just enough angle to bounce the 380mm shells from the Tirpitz. Shots out on the Tirpitz, and that's a good chunk, but just not enough to finish him off. So angling continues, bow in towards the Kurfurst, slight angle to the Tirpitz. Tirpitz does get a bit of damage on him. But if all goes according to plan and RNG favors the brave, then that should be the end of the Tirpitz as well. Clock ticking down, 50 seconds remain. Any kill at this point in time will bring a win. just need to survive, and there you go. Turpits down, Kraken unleashed. 200 plus thousand damage. 235,000 damage. 40 seconds to spare. Fantastic result. Well done, RohkTheron. You played that game very well. Let's see who else can supply us with some entertainment going forward. Have fun, people, and we'll see you next time.